Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 143 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you got a health issue that just won't go away no matter what you try? Then welcome to the Revive Yourself podcast, where we reveal the secrets to long-lasting health by getting to the root cause of problems that no one else is talking about. So you can have more energy, clear skin, healthier hair, a leaner physique, more confidence, and most importantly, do the things you love and live the life you deserve. Here's your host, Ryan Martin.
So everyone, welcome back to the show, episode 143. And everyone seems to be getting nicely into the groove now in middle of Jan. Well, I think it should be middle of Jan when this comes out. But everyone seems to be getting nicely back into the groove. People moving towards their health goals, which is fantastic. Been getting lots of great feedback on the last few episodes and the conversation with Phil Escott, which definitely opened some people's minds, and there's lots to come out of that and lots more conversations to be had around that. If you didn't listen to episode 142 with Phil Escott, definitely go back and listen to it, all about the carnivore diet, as well as light and other issues, especially around the game changers. I should say mockumentary, not really documentary, but yeah, mockumentary. But yeah, lots of good feedback, and awesome. Also, people, you should all by now have those of you that ordered your books before Christmas should all definitely have them by now. Unfortunately, as I said before, the Royal Mail not only misplaced mine, but also 3 other authors' books, and so my publishers are really nice in terms of sending out replacement copies, so you should all have them now. If you haven't ordered your copy of the Chronic Fatigue Solution, then you can head over to www.thechronicfatiguesolution.com to order your book. And you've also got the option there of an audio book if you prefer to listen rather than read, and our 21-day health reset program if you're looking to jump into getting your health back on track. Now, the book, as I said before, is the Chronic Fatigue Solution, but we do cover every single chronic illness. You know, as I said before, your predisposition to disease plus modern lifestyle equals chronic illness, and lots of people are fatigued and tired, but we go into the 3 big secrets to health, as well as lots of other protocols and practices, and 52 key things that you can do to increase your vitality and energy straight away and reduce your body's fat and everything, make your body less toxic. So before, www.thechronicfatiguesolution.com. It's a really good book for your basic principles, to just get you to understand exactly what is important when it comes to creating health. Instead of fighting disease, we're all about creating health, because health and disease go together like oil and water. You can only have one or the other. You can't have both. Also, as I always like to do, promote our shop, because it really helps me float the podcast, getting great guests on. So if you can get your supplements, etc. through us, it's fantastic. This gives me a little bit of support for the podcast. So if you head over to www.reviveyourself.co, and you can click on our shop tab, there's lots of different supplements for you that you can have a look through. We've got everything from great meal replacements in terms of living fuel, super greens and super berry, best products on the market by none. They can also be used as supplements. We've got great greens drinks like the organic greens with 70 plus different fruits and vegetables in every scoop, as well as different enzymes and probiotics. We've got milk thistle for your liver. We've got liver support products, actually lots of them, as well as different soaps and bars of soap and liquid soap from Dr. Bronner's. It's so pure you can actually clean your teeth with them, and deodorants, etc. from Green People. Very, very clean, no aluminium in them, for example, free of all nasties. And we've got fantastic products from the Finchley Clinic as well, in terms of gut revival bundles. You've got a complete bundle there for you, as well as other great products. And then we've got fantastic products from Ancient Purity too, the Royal Jelly. That is an absolute wonder for your health. Royal jelly is what the queen bee eats exclusively. It's why she lives 7 years longer than the other bees. We've also got We've also got pearl powder, which is great internally for your liver and your organs, but topically it's fantastic for your skin as well. Any blemishes, redness, that is just great for anything you may have in terms of skin eruptions. We've also got our hydrogen-based filters there for you as well. You can it's like a flask. You press the button and it starts to add an extra hydrogen molecule to the water. So extremely great for cleaning the body. I should say internally cleansing the body, but also for very good for extra hydrating. So it's like super hydrating. There's so many great products and go through each and every one. Also got our whole house filtration systems from Aquitaire. So if you've got a 1, 2, 3 or 4 bed house, whatever it is, hard or soft water, we've got an option for you. Obviously it's 4 beds plus, and they'll last anything from 5 to 10 years, depending how much you use, but generally around about 7 to 10 years. Works out very cheap, because you're not just cooking, you're not just drinking the water, you're cooking your food in it, you're cleaning your clothes in it, your bed sheets are in it, you're brushing your teeth in it, everything's going on. And then, haven't got it on the site yet, but we have our link with Blue Blocks, which are the best blue blocking glasses on the market, in my opinion. Go to www.blueblocks.com, that's BLUBLOX.com, and you put in the code REVIVE. You get Revive 10, you get 10% off. And it's the same with our link with Ancient Purity. No, same with our link with Essential Oil Wizardry, Dr. Nick Berry, who we're getting back on the show this year too, and in fact very soon, I think. But if you go to www.essentialoilwizardry.com, you're going to get access to the best essential oils on the market. You can actually spend ages on his site. Actually, it's you'll learn so much on it, and he's got not only the best essential oils, but the way that they actually extract them is different to anyone else, and it allows them to be more pure and actually get absorbed into the body better. So very, very interesting. In fact, if you haven't listened to my original podcast with Dr. Nick Berry, then go and listen to that. I'm trying to think of what exact episode it was, but if you just put in Ryan Martin, Revive Yourself with Dr. Nick Berry, it will come up. Put it into your favourite search engine. I don't use Google anymore. I use Ecosa. Google is just not for me. If you look into Google and what they're doing and the things that they actually stop searching for, their algorithms, what they deem is fake news, not for me. And Ecosa actually plant trees for every amount of searches that get used in their toolbar. So it's another reason why to use Ecosa. It's very environmentally friendly. So on to today's show. Today's guest is Brian Hoyer, who is from shieldedhealing.com, and Brian's got a very interesting background. And what he does is he's all about reinventing human habits for optimal health when it comes to taking care of quality solutions for EMF, which is electromagnetic frequencies, and geopathic stress. So in the house and on your body, trying to stop these frequencies impacting your health. He's first become a nutritional therapist and trained with the Klinghardt Academy, and then he became a certified geobiologist trained by pioneering naturopathic and environmental medicine clinic in Austria that's been addressing EMF and geopathic stress since 1983, and he's a fascinating wealth of information. He goes around America, and he's also got links now in the UK and across the world when it comes to helping people cut out their geopathic stress and their EMF exposure and radiation. So this is going to be a fascinating show, and it's going to probably pose more questions than answers, which I no doubt it has, but we will be getting Brian back on the show. He's actually going to give my listeners, the revivers, you guys, 5% off of anything that is in his shop. So if you go to www.shieldedhealing.com, you go into shop, 5% off. If you see 5% is quite a lot on his products, because things are reasonably in quite an investment, but they're something that you can buy for life. So if you put in the code REVIVE, you're going to get 5% off, or you can just email him and say you've come through our channels. So without further ado, here's Brian. Enjoy the show, and I'll see you on the other side. Whereabouts? You're not in Washington, are you?
No, I used to live in Washington, but yeah, now I'm in Columbia, Missouri.
Ah, right. I was trying to work out where it was. I saw the picture on your website about you built a house, like a EMF resistant house.
Yeah, actually, that's what the contractor came this morning about. Like we're having him finishing up some work for it, and he just kind of sucked me into the project and talked to me for about an hour, and then it's
Fuck.
like, and I forgot to tell my family that I was having a podcast this morning, so they were like all scrambling to get out, and we just got them out the door.
That's all right. No worries. It happens. Is that you in that house now?
No, this is actually we have our Earth Contact home. It's about 1,200 square feet. And then we have the tiny house that we pulled over to our contractor's place.
All right. Okay.
And he's finishing that up. We shielded like the outside of it, and then we let it sit for like about a year when we were living in Ohio, and just haven't finished it, you know?
What,
So
renovating it, or you mean like in terms of shielding it, or you shielded it already?
Yeah, we shielded it already, and then there was some, we needed to finish the electrical and the and all the plumbing and everything. So we're finally getting that done. My business just kind of took off with everything else, so we didn't have time. We did everything ourselves up to that point.
Yeah.
And now with the electrical and the plumbing, it's like I wanted to be able to figure out how to do everything myself, so I could say that I built it, but I just don't have time for that now.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I can imagine because today when we're talking, because I know it can be quite a complex area for people because there's lots of things that get mentioned in terms of EMFs and radiation, etc. And I've been looking into this for a while, and then I heard. I've heard you on a few different shows, and then I think reasonably recently, I heard you on Ben Greenfield's podcast where you were at his house. And I was listening to it thinking for the layman, this would be like, people would be like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And they'd be scared of their house. It's like everything seems like it could be causing issues.
Right.
Yeah. So today I want to sort of like, I want to go into things, but I like trying to make it as easy to understand as possible for people, because I know we can get you back on the show and doing it more in-depth one. I know that Ben likes to go really deep with things, which is great for people like who are into it, but for the average person, sometimes they can be like, what is he going on about, these different frequencies? I hate to start spinning. So
Yep.
I mean, yeah, you probably get that quite a lot with people come to you and go, I don't know where to start, like what meters should I use and what should I be doing? So it's quite, I mean, having listened to your story as well, it's really interesting. So just for people out there, just because I know your background, but people out there, just why did you get into health and into EMF protection, Brian?
Yeah, well, it kind of started out for me as from the health perspective, being a health practitioner. The initial push of me becoming a health practitioner was having a child and being a father and thinking about, okay, what's the best thing that I could do for this little creature that we now have to take care of 24/7. And that brought me into the health world. And so I learned a lot about nutrition and I got certified as a nutritional therapy practitioner for like functional nutritional therapy. But from that, you have to take continuing education credits. And so one of the continuing education courses that I took was with Dr. Klinghardt out of the Klinghardt Academy.
Yeah, I know Klinghardt.
He works in Germany, and he's a holistic medical doctor, but he also has a practice in the United States, and then practitioners that follow, like hundreds of practitioners that he works with all over the world.
He's really big into Lyme, Klinghardt, isn't he?
Yep. Yeah. And so, yeah, he's really, really big into Lyme and other chronic issues that people have. And he's kind of like the doctor that you go to after you've already been to 20 doctors, and then he's able to figure it out.
Yeah. My mate had a really bad issue of Lyme, like spirochete behind his eye, and went to see Klinghardt in the States years ago, and he was like talking to a NASA. So trying to talk to like NASA space scientist. Is like, he's a really, really intelligent man, but once again, he says sometimes a little bit too intelligent for him. You know what I mean? It was doing it for your own good. So it's sort of like it's good to try and get it. So okay, so you learned with Dr. Klinghardt, and then you went on to EMFs, or was you doing EMFs with him?
Well, he had a lecture about EMFs and about his experience with it, and he's been addressing this for 15, 20 years in his practice. And so one of the things that he said just really stuck with me. He said that before he even starts with any of his patients, they have to follow a certain protocol to mitigate the EMFs in their home. And he said, if you don't do that, I'm not going to work with you, or I can work with you, but you're not going to see the results that you want. You cannot get better without taking care of this issue. And that, kind of just struck me like a ton of bricks. And I decided that, well, I had my own nutrition practice, and I started implementing some of the EMF shielding techniques and the protocols that he had on some of my clients, and they saw some amazing results. But I was also referring out to people other professionals in the field to evaluate this, because I didn't have the equipment at the time. And so they evaluated the home, and I had some more amateur meters, and I went back and checked after they made their recommendations, and the solutions that they put in weren't getting the levels down to what I really wanted to see them. And so I started buying more equipment, and then I took some training from a naturopathic clinic in Austria, and more continuing education with Dr. Klinghardt. Now I'm actually working very closely with Dr. Klinghardt in his clinic, and we help a lot of his patients. But now, it kind of got to the point where I needed to raise the standards of how serious we need this issue is, and how much we need to mitigate to get the results that we're looking for in a clinical setting. And so through my experience with my own, the people that I was working with, and through my experience shielding rooms of people that are patients of other practitioners, other doctors and things, we've kind of come up with the ultimate way to recreate this, what I like to call an ancestral healing environment in the bedroom. And the goal really should be to rule out EMF as a possibility of causing damage to you and causing health problems. And so in order to do that, we have to mitigate, we test for 6 different kinds of stressors. There's electric fields, magnetic fields, wireless frequencies. There's harmonics which are thousands of frequencies that are riding on your electrical lines, artificial light, and then there's also this energy that comes up from the earth called geopathic stress. And in Europe they know them as ley lines, and in Chinese medicine it's like the earth has meridians, things like that. But when you're over those lines, those can be too intense in one area, and that can cause some problems too.
Yeah.
So when we take care of all of those issues, that's kind of like the protocol for a healing environment, and we're especially looking at the bedroom. And as we've done this in hundreds of homes, we see some amazing results, and it's for health optimization, but it's also for people who are suffering from chronic illness, that they see their symptoms go away, their medication reduce or completely be eliminated, and things like that. So it's really exciting work, and it's kind of cutting edge right now.
Yeah, no, everything you mentioned, I want to get into them as well, because it's different, as you mentioned before, the 6 different areas you go into. With the geopathical fault line, I had that to happen at my house, because I went to see my biological doctor. He's a doctor called Dr. Robert Jacobs, who I met in the Paracelsus Clinic in Switzerland. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's very, very similar to what Dr. Klinghardt does, but he's at biological medicines, and they're very big. You're not even allowed your phone up there, and they actually use dowsing. I actually had to get my house dowsed because of it, and they say how it can impact you massively, especially when it comes to infections, and in terms of putting your body into its fight and flight nervous system, so you can't actually heal as much. So it's really interesting you talk about that, and I've heard you on other shows. There's lots of, this is the thing, there's lots of different, so there's 6 different areas, and there's lots to get into there. And when the thing you mentioned the bedroom there, which is really important, and like the ancestral sort of living so you can heal, because a lot of people, they'd say, which was quite interesting, you said obviously you want your house to be as much of a safe haven as possible, but people are like, my house, even in my house I've got my computers and I've got my phone on me, and I've got my TV, and even if people aren't in their own house, they're in a flat which has got people next door with their wireless Wi-Fi on. And that's something that, there must be some, which we'll get into the basic stuff, but these things, is that why you're saying take care of your bedroom first? 'Cause that's where you spend most time?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's one area where we're very unique, is that we have an actual priority system. And so I prioritize the shielding of bedrooms and the mitigation of all the different kinds of stressors that we test for any time that your body is supposed to be in a parasympathetic state. So while you sleep, you're supposed to be in this parasympathetic state and relaxed and healing, and your body is, your brain detoxes at night, but so do all of your organs. The lymphatic drainage happens at night at certain times in the night. And so it's the most important time to not be in a fight or flight state. And if your body is actually perceiving these external stressors coming onto you while you're sleeping, you're going to be in less of a relaxed state. You're going to be more easily able to wake up, or you go into too deep of a sleep, and then your body is too asleep to even do the normal repair processes. That's when, like, children start wetting the bed, or you go into such a deep sleep nobody can wake you up, that sort of thing. So there's multiple things that we recommend, and the daytime areas, yes, we focus on reducing those, but we really concentrate and zero in on the bedroom, because that's 8 hours every single day where you're sitting in the same or sleeping in the same location. And so if you can just optimize that space, that's 1/3 of your life, 1/3 of your day, where you have nearly zero exposure. And it's the most important time when your body's supposed to be healing. And if you can do that, then you can actually heal from the damage that's done during the day when you're out and about, exposed in your own home or at your office, or grocery shopping or wherever. So and then there's other areas where your body's supposed to be in a parasympathetic state as well. So like when you detox, and also when you eat, you're supposed to be in this relaxed state. So often I'll recommend that people go ahead and eat at your dinner table, but then maybe afterwards go back into your shielded room and read a book for an hour while you digest your food, and let yourself, relax and just kind of let the digestive juices flow. And I've seen that make a huge difference for people with digestive issues or any illness, just to, first you teach them to be calm and chew their food and all that, but then go into that EMF shielded space, and then your body's able to more easily digest.
Yeah.
And all those processes kind of turn on more easily.
100%. You mentioned there about the lymphatic system, and you mentioned about your brain as well, the lymphatic system, which detoxifies at night, which a lot of people, it doesn't actually happen, they're not sleeping deep enough for a lot of these things to actually happen. And then if they are, because their Wi-Fi is on, it's amazing. I've talking to Emma Lane about this. I don't know if you know Emma Lane. She's a former Czech level 4 practitioner, but she talks about this a lot, and about how metals and stuff can be drawn into the brain at night because of these electromagnetic frequencies. So just for people out there, because there's got so many questions here that I want to ask you, especially about in daytime, how we can mitigate this, at night time, what we can do in our bedroom, different things. But just for people out there, you mentioned, right, obviously EMF frequencies, what they are, but the 6 different areas that you go into, can you just explain each one, where people would find that their negative frequencies? Because EMFs, everything in the world is energy, right? And everything has got an electrical current. And you get good and you get bad electrical currents, and the body, how it responds to them. So can you just expand on that for us, the 6 areas and where people might find them, and what they can do to maybe reduce their exposure to them?
Yeah. So basically, your body does run on electricity, but your body runs on DC, direct current. And with the invention of electricity, in order to make the electricity travel far, they've made it a pulsed frequency, so it will actually go further. It's alternating currents. That's the difference between AC and DC. So not only is the electrical in your walls pulsed, but also the wireless frequencies are pulsed.
Right.
And so the the stuff in your walls is called low frequency, and then the wireless is called high frequency. So basically, when we test for all this stuff, we test the body voltage. You can actually take a regular electrician's multimeter and plug it into a ground wire, the COM port, and then you actually can test how much voltage is on your body, and you can walk around your house, however long your ground cord is, and you can see how your voltage changes. We usually only test this in the bed or in places where people are sitting for long periods of time.
Okay.
And the goal is to be zero, because in nature you didn't have any pulsating current at all or voltage on your body. And so you have that simply from the wiring in your walls, unless you live in a flat where the code is that there's metal conduit and the wires are in a metal grounded conduit. Then in that case, you don't have electric fields coming out from the walls. Only when you plug something in do you have electric fields coming out from the cords that are not shielded. But in most homes, they have Romex, just either the rubber or the plastic casing that goes around the wires, and that doesn't shield anything. It lets the electricity go out from the walls. So that is constantly pulsating your body, your muscles, causing these micro contractions all night long while you sleep. People have as much as, 2,000 millivolts up to, I've had people that are around 12,000 or 15,000 millivolts or 15 volts on their body while they're sleeping.
That's a lot.
And that is a lot. And you can just imagine, like, how is your body able to rest when it's got all that pulsating voltage going through? Every time, when we restart a heart, we use that defibrillator and we pump voltage into the heart to make the heart muscle contract. And so voltage actually makes your muscles contract, and then magnesium makes the magnesium inside of those cells makes it relax. So I have this feeling that this vast depletion of magnesium and the magnesium deficiency that people are experiencing all over the world is largely due to this phenomenon of everybody being surrounded by this pulsating electricity all the time and being depleted of their magnesium stores, because we have all these micro contractions happening pretty much 24/7.
So when you mentioned there, is that coming out the walls, or is that the Wi-Fi as well, or is that just all you talk about everything combined?
Yeah, this is just electric fields so far that we're talking about.
Just electric fields, okay, right.
Yeah. And then the Wi-Fi has a similar effect, but it's on a more cellular level, because it is the waveform is smaller, so it resonates with smaller organelles and on the cellular level. So there's the electricity in the walls. There's also, with the electricity in the walls, if there's any errors in the wiring and the currents flow in different directions than it should be, then there can be a wiring error that causes a magnetic field. And magnetic fields come from current not being canceled out from wiring errors, or also like a lot of current going through an area, like if you live really close to those large power lines or a big transformer, electrical conduit that's coming into the house. And then the other thing is motors, they create a magnetic field. So you don't ever want to have a refrigerator right on the other side of where your bedroom is, because that, as long as the refrigerator is running or another big appliance, it could be coming into your sleeping area, and you could have a huge magnetic field right by your head. And I've seen that happen multiple times. So that's really important to move that. And a lot of these issues are things where you can just move furniture around and to kind of mitigate it or fix it and not have that exposure. But the electricity, you can't do much about that except filter it from the part that's the most detrimental, which is another thing, and that's the dirty electricity. So on almost every electrical system that I've ever tested, there is what they call dirty electricity or harmonics, and it's thousands of high frequencies that kind of start riding on the electrical system. And those can actually be filtered out with this filtering technology that we use. It's a box that you can install at your breaker panel. And it has capacitors and harmonic rectifiers. And so if there's anybody listening to this that's an electrical engineer, they'll kind of understand the concept. But it filters out these harmonics so that when you're exposed to the electric field, you're not being, at least not being exposed to a more damaging type of EMF. And each one of these solutions, each one of these stressors that we test for has a different solution. So the dirty electricity, you have the filtration, or you can remove the items in the house that are causing the dirty electricity. So like CFL light bulbs, solar panels cause a lot of dirty electricity, and dimmer switches, and then various appliances. You kind of have to test to see what's causing
LEDs?
LEDs can. LEDs, the problem is usually has more to do with the flickering of the light, which is also a stressor. And so
that's the amount of times they flicker per second, isn't it?
Yeah, and so because it's running on the 120 volts, or the alternating current is running at 60 hertz or 50 hertz in the UK.
Yeah.
That means it's flickering 50 times per second, and so that's you can't really see it with your eyes, because your brain doesn't register it fast enough for you to perceive it, but your eyes are constantly adjusting to it.
It's amazing. You can see it on camera sometimes, can't you? Sometimes, or if you record a TV, you can see it, but you can't see it with naked eye, but you can see it through another camera, which is, it's quite, when you look at it, if you think about it, it's quite worrying, but it's just something that we've been so used to.
Yep. Yeah. And so usually what we'll recommend for that is you can switch out to higher wattage incandescent bulbs if you can find them, because they have a filament inside that heats up, and even though it's running on the pulse current, the light is being produced by heat. So unless that heat cools down all the way, it won't turn completely off. It just kind of has more of a glowing effect, and it flickers a lot less than an LED, which will turn off instantly, like 50 times per second. And then fluorescent lights are the same. They have various ways that they flicker too. So we have lighting recommendations that we do, and then the main thing though is testing all the different EMF stressors and figuring out the wireless frequencies is another one, and hunting down all the frequencies in the house. But then also one of the things that I discovered doing these assessments all over the United States has been that for like 20-30 years, everyone in this profession has said that most of the wireless radiation is coming from inside the house. And that may have been true 15 years ago, but now we have so many cell phone towers, so many radio towers, so many television towers, and more cell phone towers are going up all the time. We now have gone to this tipping point where maybe 3-5 years ago, we have more radiation coming from outside the home and coming onto the body, or just as much. We do have more devices that are coming into the houses too, but all of those you have control over. So I'm usually more concerned with, hunting down all the wireless frequencies in the house and making sure we have those turned off at night, or we can wire them if possible, or come up with some solution where you're not constantly exposing yourself to something that's really close to you. But then you have to consider all the towers from outside. And that's where we kind of get into the bulk of the meat of what I consider to be like the shielding protocol for the home.
Right, and I want to get into that because obviously you've got a different, 4G, 5G now as well. But just because you said something there, and I want to get into that, the shielding. So you said the bulk of shielding the home, just so people can understand a little bit more about these frequencies. But before we go there, you've got ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. You've got thermal radiation. Like, what's the difference? Because I've heard you say that ionizing radiation can damage DNA. And this is, for example, when people go through the airport and they get put into one of those scanners. Is that what that is? That iodizing radiation?
No, that's actually non-ionizing radiation, but it's the one where you put your hands up in the air.
Yeah.
And they have you go through that, and it has a little spinny thing that goes around.
Yeah.
Those are millimeter waves. Those are actually wireless frequencies that are really high frequencies. And there's a really interesting video online from the U.S. military.
But they will tell you that these things are completely safe and don't affect the body at all. But
yes,
go on. What was the video?
Yeah, but Yeah, they tell you it's completely safe and it's less radiation than your cell phone and all this stuff, the BS that they tell you when you're going through the TSA or whatever. I don't know what they
Yeah.
have over in Europe, but
I know I had a really interesting discussion with one there that they tried to make me feel this. Well, I'm actually going to do like a live post on it, and they try to make you feel awkward. Oh, I'm going to have to wait here for 30 minutes. Someone's going to pat you down. I was like, that's fine. Oh, why didn't you want to go through it? Because I've done my research and I know it destroys the body cells at DNA level and other things. I know it's completely safe. I said, okay, that's what they told you about asbestos. And then they go on to it and they just try and make you feel awkward. And I was just like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not going to do it. And he said, well, in 3 years' time, you won't even be able to opt out. So this is where I want to get into like radiation blocking clothes, etc. No, Ben Greenfield's a big opponent of that. But interesting for what you were going to say there. You got the video and what were you going to say, the military video? So you're going to say...
Oh, yeah. There's a military video on YouTube, and they actually weaponize these frequencies. So they use it as like a crowd deterrent. So
really,
they shove in this video is actually kind of it's sad, but it's funny at the same time because they show these people like they actually tested it in real time and they have real people there, but they also have this animation. And when they blast these frequencies, it's obviously a higher intensity than what they're using at the airport, way higher. But the fact of the matter is you can use those frequencies to cause this burning sensation on the person's body, and instinctually it just makes you run in the opposite direction. There's this really interesting, as they started experimenting with animals and people, it just like you just run the other way.
Yeah,
it's really crazy.
I've heard about. That's what I was going to say. I've heard about that. I've also interviewed Dr. Deborah Davis about the airport, and she thinks that they're extremely bad. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I always opt out. The problem, though, about opting out is that sometimes you are exposed longer to the radiation because it's not just confined to being right in that area. If you were to actually measure it, and I honestly have not measured it. I used to have a meter that could measure it, but I was too scared to pull it out and bring it through security because it costs so much. And but like they make you stand right next to the device while you're waiting. And then you have to be that close to it for like 3 or 4 or 5, 10 rounds of people going through. And at that point, you would have just been better off going through.
Right. So you stand away from it if you can.
Yeah, stand away from it. Say, I'm standing over here and waiting, and as far away as possible. But I ended up getting in the United States we have this option to do TSA pre-check, and then you don't have to go through that. You just go through the metal detector, and you don't have to, there's no option to have to go through that at all. So that's been helpful. But when I traveled overseas, I had to deal with it again. So it doesn't always, there's no foolproof way to get out of that. But it's a kind of a minimal exposure compared to what we're exposed to every single day. And, I still always opt out just on the principle of it, but, travel is bad enough as it is for you with the circadian rhythm switches and just being tired. And then all of the Wi-Fi exposure that you have from people in airports. I mean, everyone's on their phone in airport. There was one time I was going through an airport and not one person was looking up. Every single person I went by was on their phone. People walking, people sitting at tables, not talking to each other. They just have their phones out looking at it, and everybody's radiating each other. Plus the Wi-Fi is blasting in there, and the cell phone, the mobile tower connection is really, really good because there's cell phone towers all over the airport, and the airport radar's spinning like crazy. So airports, the worst place for all of this type of radiation as far as the wireless transmissions go.
So what would you do in an airport? Because I want to get into this. I mean, I have actually got some Faraday blocking underwear that I wear for radiation. But like, is there certain supplements you would take in terms of blocking radiation or helping your body with these frequencies, or any clothes that you'd wear, or any devices that you put on your phone, etc.?
I have a Faraday bag that I put over my phone, but I usually keep my phone on airplane mode. That's better than any device that you can get. Just keep it on airplane mode with the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth turned off when you're carrying it around. And then when you want to check your phone, which everybody wants to check their phone, you find a place where you can sit down, put your phone down, turn it off of airplane mode, just touch it, and then let it get off. Because when you first turn it off of airplane mode, it's going to start blasting the towers or reaching the Wi-Fi router or whatever, and it's going to start downloading and uploading all kinds of things like pictures. It'll upload pictures that you took when it was on airplane mode, or video or whatever, if you have like Google Photos or something like that. And then all of the updates to your apps are gonna happen. So the highest amount that you're exposed to is like for about 10 or 15 seconds after you turn it off or turn airplane mode off. And then after you hear all the dings and the notifications go off, then you can grab your phone and kind of use it and just hold it away from your body as much as possible.
Right.
Yep. There's some really simple habits. The further you have it away, it exponentially gets better.
Yeah.
And at least if you need to be available for a phone call, you can turn the mobile data off so you're not constantly updating your apps and everything, and you can still receive a phone call. And that's especially important if you have to have your phone on your body.
Right. So for example, you put it on airplane mode and then you go into settings and you take it off of data roaming. Is that what you mean? Is it data roaming?
Yeah. Data roaming, cellular data on an iPhone. And you don't need to, if you're going to just do the cellular data, you're still going to get some pings. But it's better if you actually need to be available, like you're on call or you're expecting a call or something like that. Just turn the cellular data off, and your airplane mode is still off in that scenario. But airplane mode is by far the best thing because it stops all transmissions.
Yeah. I have my phone on that majority of the time. It's just, I never have it in my pocket. I always try and carry it in my hand. I know you actually sit something around it, but I try and keep it away from myself. And if I phone call, I always have it on speakerphone. I'm guessing that's something we should be doing too.
Yeah. Speakerphone's good. You can get definitely don't use the AirPods or the.
But I wanted to talk to you about that actually, because I always just use my headphones, Apple headphones. And go into it. Is that fine?
Yeah, I think that's fine. There's some people that say, oh, the wire's connected to the phone and that radiation's coming through the wire. I have never been able to verify that or test it in the way. In theory, it makes sense that it might have something happening, but it's not going to be any more than what you're getting on your skin.
Right.
From the phone. The issue is where you put the phone when you have the headphones on, because the phone's still transmitting. So if you can connect your phone to the
here over there, and it's just
put it far away from your body. Get a really long headphones, headphone cord, and I think that would be even better than some of those AirPod things that people have. Just get a long cord.
Yeah, the AirPods. I mean, they are going to have Bluetooth and other radiation coming into it, right?
Oh yeah, those things are insane. It's so high. Each one is extremely high, and you've got them on both sides of your brain. So it's not good. And it doesn't even have to be. You don't even have to be on a call or listening to anything. It's constantly buzzing the entire time when you test it with a meter. As soon as you even touch or move the AirPod box, if they're charged at all, they start blasting because they sense, and they'll start blasting Bluetooth out. And it's
you got it in your ears right next to your brain.
Yep. Yeah. So it's not good. And these frequencies, there's studies that show it causes a permeable blood-brain barrier, and it causes brain inflammation. And because of that, via the brain-gut axis, it also causes gut inflammation, leaky gut as well. So there's all kinds of studies that show all of these crazy different, like, plethora of symptoms, and it's all due to the effect that all these types of EMFs, all the 6 types of stressors that we test for, those are acting via the voltage-gated calcium ion channels. And when there's calcium that's let into the cell because of the voltage transfer across the cell membrane, it causes the production of this free radical called peroxynitrite. And this free radical through chronic exposure can cause DNA damage.
Really?
Non-ionizing radiation, non-thermal radiation can cause DNA damage
because
of this molecule and this reaction that's happening.
Because that's something that people say, like, okay, ionizing radiation may cause it, but they have a discussion saying non-ionizing doesn't. But you're saying because of that pathway that happens, it can.
Yes, exactly.
Right, it's really interesting.
Yeah, and Dr. Mercola, he has a new book coming out on EMF in a few months here, and he talks about this extensively, the physiological mechanisms behind the EMF damage in his book.
Dr. Mercola, that quack. That crack, yeah, the guy that's had one of the best natural health websites for forever, yeah, that quack. But because is that what you're saying about the blood-brain barrier? So I think I've heard Dr. Cruz talk about it. Is this also? Is something also called the Frey effect? I think I've heard about that. Dr. Frey, is that what it's about? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, it's the same thing. And Dr. Alan Frey, what he did was he had this study that he did on these rats where he injected methylene blue dye into the femoral artery of these rats. And one group he exposed to wireless transmissions. I think it was around 900 megahertz, which is the same that many phones use, and your smart meter on your house that your electric company installs that's pulsing frequencies, that uses 900 megahertz in the United States. I'm not sure if the UK is the same. But
I mean, I wouldn't use this. I got rid of my smart meter years ago. I mean, even the World Health Organization said it was like a type 2 carcinogen. It's like 10 years ago. So, like, I mean, do you have a smart meter in your house?
I do, but it's like 30 feet away from the house.
Right. Okay.
And I've got it shielded.
Right. So it's a bit different. Yeah. Cool. So you're saying he used the dye in the rats.
Yep. And so when he injected the dye into the rats, you could see it in the scan. You could see it illuminate everything but the brain, and that's because the blood-brain barrier was intact. And then the group that he exposed to the Wi-Fi, within, I think it was 3 to 5 seconds, the brain became fluoresced and illuminated as well. And so that confirmed to him that, oh my gosh, this actually causes a permeable blood-brain barrier almost instantly. And one of his colleagues from Europe, I'm not sure exactly where it was, but I think the guy's name was Leif, L-E-I-F. I forget, I'm blanking on his first name, but he heard about Dr. Frey's study, and then he contacted him and said, hey, I've been looking for a way to cause the blood-brain barrier to become permeable so I can get some drugs into the brain. Can I use your research to propose another research thing for this group that he was doing this other research for? And he was like, yeah, you could do that. So he actually started using radio frequencies to cause a permeable blood-brain barrier so that these other drugs could be uptaked into the brain. And that's like something that's documented, and they know that happens. It's kind of like, I don't usually get into this when I'm recording podcasts on EMF, but it's very similar to the fact that there's a drug called or an additive to vaccines that they use called neomycin that's added to many vaccines as a preservative or something like that. But they actually use that same molecule to cause deafness in rats to test cochlear implants for people who are deaf and hard of hearing. And that one of the side effects, if you look on that vaccine side effects thing, is that deafness could be a side effect of taking this vaccine,
or just death.
Yeah.
Or just I mean, like, yeah. Look at well, don't ask me why they're putting antifreeze and carbonic acid and formaldehyde and all other sorts of stuff in vaccines. I mean, that's another discussion. But yeah, I mean, they've done this many times before with different things where they've used a drug and they found out it does something, and then they go, okay, we can induce we can induce something else in the body by using it. So I'm not surprised. I mean, so you're saying leaky gut through the blood-brain barrier, being exposed to these different frequencies, and also not surprising, having studied with Dr. Klinghardt, you found out that magnetic exposure can also increase chronic infections like Lyme, SIBO, Candida. You tell me a little bit of research about that. I mean, what is that? Once again, it's because you're lowering the body's overall health. You're pushing it into its fight and flight, so it's allowing for these funguses and molds to proliferate. Would that be why?
Yeah, well, what's interesting about that is there's kind of a different thing going on, and it's kind of a theory, but it's been tested that it does happen when there's a higher exposure, and that's that these pathogens do proliferate when they're exposed to more magnetic fields and more and wireless frequencies and everything. And so what you kind of step back and think about that, like, why is that happening? And what Dr. Klinghardt postulates is that it's happening because the pathogens also perceive this as a stressor. And so they go into survival mode and they start proliferating like crazy in order to survive the onslaught of these frequencies and radiations that are coming in. They think that they're being attacked, and so they ramp up the production, their multiplication. And when that happens, it overactivates your immune system, and then your immune system goes so crazy that it can start to chase the pathogens into different organs and start to attack the organs themselves, and that's when you get autoimmune disease. And so this is huge for autoimmune disease, these EMF exposures. I've actually had a few clients. There was one in particular that she shielded her room, and the first 2 nights in sleeping in that shielded room, free of all these stressors, she couldn't sleep at all. She was like having racing heart, sweating, heart palpitations, like all of the cold hands and feet, and all these symptoms. And they were thyroid symptoms. And she's normally hypothyroid, but she was having hyperthyroid symptoms. And then she's like thinking about it, like, oh man, maybe I should stop taking my glandular. And so she stopped taking her thyroid glandular, and then she had the best sleep of her life. So that means the first night after sleeping in that shielded room, her body did not need her thyroid medication anymore. Something shifted and she didn't need it. Taking her thyroid glandular was pushing her body to produce too much thyroid hormone, and she didn't need it anymore. So there's something magical about just creating that healing space, especially in the bedroom, so your body can do what it's supposed to do at night and heal and detox and do all of the things. And that's kind of one of the key points that I try to really preach at people, is that your body wants to heal. If we just give it the opportunity to do that, when does your body heal? It heals at night. And so all of us are trying to eat healthy and exercise and do all these things, but if you're trying to repair your body, all of that repair, nearly all of it, happens at night while you're sleeping. And we so de-emphasize sleep in our society that it's almost like an inconvenience to us. And so, but it's actually supposed to be the time when we actually feel safe. Your bedroom should not have anything stressful in it, things that stress you out, pictures of old girlfriends or boyfriends or like, angry, evil images or whatever. It needs to be a place of peace, a place where you can feel rested and calm and joyful and thankful about where you're at, and you just feel safe. And when you have that space in it, and you've made it safe by shielding it from all these frequencies and everything, then you actually have an optimal space for your body to heal. And then all the protocols, everything you're doing during the day, and exercise, diet, whatever, supplementation, what I've found in my practice and with people that I have who have done this shielding is everything works better. They don't need to be on their leaky gut supplement anymore. I've had people where I had to continually have them on a leaky gut supplement because they just could not keep their gut sealed. And regardless of what we did with diet, it still wasn't working until we shielded the room. Then they didn't even need the supplement anymore. As long as they would go back to that room every single night, they wouldn't have the leaky gut symptoms. They wouldn't have these strong reactions to these various different types of foods anymore. And so it's like it was the primary stressor in those cases. But sometimes there's, this is never the one solution to fix all of your health problems, but it's a foundational solution that all of our ancestors had every single night, that healing time of 8 hours at least every single night, where they can just repair the damage that's done during the day.
Well, nothing can compare. You can throw herbs and different things at people all day long, but if you're not sleeping right, you're never gonna reach your potential. Your immune system's never gonna reach its potential, and you're gonna be like pissing in the wind, basically. So I 100% agree. It's like a foundational principle. And sleeping, as you said, it is seen as an inconvenience these days because people got so much to do and so much. It's like it's so important, and so I want to get onto what you said there, like your basics of like the house, stopping things coming in. I mean, I want to get into as well the bedroom, like different things people can do in terms of, just because people are going to ask like supplements they can take, things in terms of like mattresses, and we get into your assessments, like how long your assessments generally would take. But like you said you have like you like to start from stopping the frequencies coming in. And how would you go about that for most people? Because with like 5G now as well, it seems like they're very short radio waves, but they're very, very powerful. Or sorry, frequencies, I should say. And so is it harder to stop them coming in, or is it still things we can use? Like, is it cages or paints, or how would you go about it?
Yeah, it's actually the 5G, the millimeter waves, which is what everybody's worried about with 5G. In my opinion, so far when I've tested these things, and I have tested with a millimeter wave meter, they propagate in such a way where it's really almost like a laser from my testing. And so I barely can detect them when I had my millimeter wave meter in LA and in Austin, Texas, and Dallas, Texas. And so, and then from the studies that you can see by the industry themselves, they all point to saying that we cannot even use these, like they were testing. There's one study where they tested everything in this indoor mall environment, and they have this chart that shows that even tinted glass will largely reduce these frequencies. And so the shielding of those frequencies is actually pretty easy. But the fact of the matter is these companies, I don't think personally at this point that they're even going to be using those on a wide scale like everybody thinks. What they're going to do is they're going to use those as point-to-point communication, just like they have
Internet of Things.
Yeah, well, point-to-point, like a tower will be over here and another tower like a mile away or half a mile away, and they'll point those millimeter waves at each other, and they'll transfer large amounts of data that way. And then from there, they'll broadcast the data in different directions with lower frequency signals like sub 6 gigahertz, which is what we already have with 4G. And that will penetrate more easily through walls and things like that. So that's why T-Mobile is using their 5G network. They're using 600 megahertz because it goes farther and it penetrates easier. So they're using that. That's live right now in the United States, probably in other places around the world too. And it's and we can block that too with the paints and the fabrics and things that we use, but you have to make sure that that you're using the right fabric for the right thing, and that it's been tested up to these 5G frequencies, just to make sure that you're not using something that's not good. Because when I first got into this, most of the shielding products, they'd been around for 10 or 15 years, and it's still that way. So I've sourced some new fabrics and a new way to actually do the painting that increases the effectiveness of it, so that you can do it optimally and kind of 5G proof your home.
Well, if you do it wrong, can you like seal frequencies in your house?
Usually that doesn't happen. The only time that I've seen that happen is when somebody's recommended to just do partial shielding. They'll say, oh, just shield this wall because most of this stuff's coming from this direction. And then the person will feel worse. But, I've never been a part of a shielding project where a person has felt worse after doing the shielding as we recommend to do it. So I have yet to see EMF being trapped inside of a house. We tell people not to bring your phone into the shielded room. It's going to keep seeking for the tower, and you'll still get some reception when you bring your phone into some of the rooms that we've shielded. But if you get one of those apps where you can test how your signal is. You can actually see it go way down, and then your phone starts to ramp up more to connect with the tower, just like in the old days when cell phones were kind of new and you had roaming. Your phone would roam and it would start to lose battery when you don't have good reception. So if you work in a parking garage, you might have experienced that, because you'd have hardly any reception when you're in one of those big, thick parking garages, and your phone will, the battery will die because it's pumping out so much power to try to connect.
So just quickly, when this is on aeroplane mode, if you have it in your pocket as a man, it's still going to be getting radiation though into your testicles.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that.
Right, even on airplane mode.
Even on airplane mode, you have a magnetic field that's coming out from there. So if it's off, there's no magnetic field whatsoever. And really, the magnetic field's only happening when the screen is activated. So if you have one of those phones where the buttons are easily pressed when it's in your pocket, the screen will turn on. Every time that screen turns on, even if it's on airplane mode, there's a magnetic pulse that's going to happen on your body, and it's pretty intense. It's no joke. So
okay. So just quickly, when you're doing your assessments, you start by what? Do you say looking at what's coming into the house, and then you go into the bedroom? But you said, obviously, if people out there, you must have lots of different devices. There's probably people could try and do this themselves or try and make readings themselves. There's not one device that does all this, right?
No, yeah, that's the thing is when I go into a house, I bring about $15,000 to $20,000 worth of equipment in to test extensively everything and build a whole protocol for the house, like what you need to do to fix everything and create an optimal environment in the bedrooms, and then lower it as much as possible in the daytime areas. And even in homes, I do a lot of home build consults. So we start from the ground up and take all of this stuff into consideration. In those situations, I even will recommend to have a room where you don't have shielding done, because people, if they have cell phones, if they don't have cell phones,
they're going to want to use them. Yeah, they're going to want to use them, right?
Yeah. Because people are going to want to use people are going to want to use their cell phones at some point, and they want to be inside their house using them. I have a shielded house, and I wish that I would have had enough room to be able to have a space like that. So I'm always like up by the window, like I put my phone up there if I need to be available behind the shielded curtain. And I'll get a call or whatever, but then I don't have anywhere in my house to go because I don't have good reception anywhere. I'll drop the call like immediately.
Do you have to open the window?
Yeah, I keep it by the window, and then I answer the call. I'm like, hold on, and I run outside, and I can talk to them. But then it's all windy and blustery and everything. So sometimes I'll go in the car and talk. But it's we like when we do these assessments for people's homes, existing homes, there's solutions, and there's different solutions than there are for an actual home build from the ground up.
Yeah.
But the existing homes, we just recommend the shielding paint in the rooms usually, but we have to rule out some things. We have to rule out magnetic field issues. We have to rule out geopathic stress issues that can't be shielded. And then ground current. We have to test the ground current, because in some areas you have a dirty ground wire, and we need to be able to mitigate that appropriately in the bedroom and test to make sure there's a clean ground in the room. And that's really why I can't just sell people a shielded package. Like, here's all you need to shield your room.
Yeah.
Because they could do that, and then they find out there's a wiring error. They have to rip the walls open and redo all the painting or take the drywall down. So it becomes a little more complicated to just say, just buy this product and put this in. You actually have to have a professional assessment done beforehand.
You've got like that Faraday paint, which obviously comes in black, or I think it is, but you can paint over that different colours you want, right? So it hasn't got to be like no woman in the world is going to want a black walls basically in their house, I'm guessing, but you can paint over these things.
Yeah, 99.99% of women. There's one woman I know that did want it.
Really?
Like, I love this black.
Oh, fair enough. Well,
I keep it black. But yeah, most people, like when you're doing the shielding projects, they'll for like 5 seconds they'll be like, "Wow, this actually looks kind of cool. Maybe I'll keep it this way." And then that thought leaves their mind after that. No,
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. It's fair enough. So things that people can do straight away, like in terms of their bedroom. So you mentioned having things off, having all electrical appliances off. If they've got, for example, mattresses, if they've got springs in them, can they, magnify the frequencies?
Yeah, they can. They can be an antenna for the wireless frequencies, and then we're able to measure that. And they can also cause an easier path for the electricity to come and the voltage to come up to your body, which is the one that contracts your muscles at night while you're sleeping. And then a lot of times, the springs are actually magnetized themselves, and so they have this noxious field that's already coming up from them. And you can take a compass and measure this right over your bed. You just put like a clipboard down or a really thin child's book and put the compass on top of that, and then just slide it across the bed and see if the needle moves by more than 2 or 3 degrees. If it moves by more than 3 degrees, then you know that there's a magnetic field coming up. Then you can actually also push the compass into the springs, and you might see it spin.
Really? Okay.
So you don't really want that to happen. That's interfering with the natural magnetism that's coming up from the earth. And so you're not even aligned with the Earth's magnetic field anymore. You're aligned with the magnetic field of the springs that came off of the machinery that was magnetized at the factory.
So people get mattresses without springs, or you can get things like an earthing mat. Would that help?
Earthing mats can help, but I usually don't recommend them until you've had the room shielded.
Right.
And right now, if people have earthing mats that they're using, I tell them to flip it upside down on your mattress. Don't be in contact with it. That way you have a grounded surface underneath the bed, but it's preventing the electricity from coming up from the floor. And that's the thing, is when we recommend to do the shielding of the rooms, you do all the walls, the ceiling, and the floor, ideally. There's certain circumstances where we might not need to do the floor, but now I've been recommending the last 6 months to a year to always do the floor as well, especially with the 5G frequencies. I mean, they're so small they can seep in anywhere. Even if you're on the ground level, it'll go right through the foundation and everything if you don't have that shielded. So we have this fleece that you can put underneath the flooring. There's also the material, the fabric material that you can use as a sheer fabric that you can put over windows. And you can also create a canopy out of this shielding fabric if you don't want to do any of the painting, or you live in a flat where you can't paint or do any remodeling work or whatever. Or it's temporary, so you don't want to just leave that expensive shielding paint on the walls. You want to take it with you when you leave. So you can build a sleep canopy over the bed, and then we have this grounding fleece material that you can put underneath to kind of complete the shield.
So it's like having your own little cocoon. Basically.
Yeah, it's your own cocoon, and it's a conductive shielding fabric. So like when you ground it, it blocks all the electricity as well. So it's a 2-for-1 solution, and it also blocks the dirty electricity. So it's really 3-for-1 solution. Wireless, dirty electricity, and electric fields are all mitigated if you're able to create a conductive fabric canopy.
Cool. And so there's a few other things I just want to quickly ask you about, because I want to go into this, what people can do about their person and laptops, etc. Just for a quick little roundup. But infrared saunas, I've seen you've got your own sauna space. I mean, it is a reasonable amount of money. It's like an £8,000 sauna. But the only thing I looked at it, and it's like it's fabric. And wouldn't it get all mess and sweat, and isn't it a bit of a pain in the bum to clean? Because, I mean, you said that a lot of saunas say they've got low EMF, or they haven't got any EMF, but your testing shows otherwise.
Yeah, I actually was on the hunt for a company that I could work with that would mitigate this in their sauna. Because, like I was saying earlier, one of the most important times to be shielded from these frequencies is when you're in a detox state. So you're supposed to be detoxing in your sauna. And all these saunas, almost every single one nowadays says low EMF. And I test them in people's houses because they always want me to test their sauna. Like, can you test my sauna too? Because you're here in my house. I've done over 500 assessments now all over the United States, and I've tested hundreds of saunas. So in doing that, I found that the ones that said they were low EMF weren't low EMF. And so I would go to these trade shows and these health and wellness shows and conferences and actually test the saunas and ask them like, hey, would you be interested in shielding this? I got a suggestion. Nobody would do it until I got to Sauna Space. And I gave him a suggestion, and he got on the phone right away and called the people at his shop that were making them and said, okay, and he explained how to change something, and he did it right away. And so I was like, this guy's serious about improving his product. And so I said, like, I've got some more ideas on how we could make this ideal. And every step of the way, he's risen to the occasion, Brian Richards, and he is, so now they have a Faraday model of the sauna that's blocking all the wireless frequencies. It's grounded, so anywhere you put it in your house, it's like your own shielded space. And so people that can't do the canopy right now or do want to shield their room, but they also want a sauna, you can use that as a sauna, but you can also use it as a space to go in after you eat and digest your food. It's your own personal shielded space, meditation space. So it's more than a sauna. And then to tell you about the sweating thing with the canvas is you don't really sweat on the canvas. It's like you can actually go inside of it and you put towels down, and then you're actually just sweating on the floor on the towels that you put down.
It's not as expensive as what I thought. It's only £3,000. Okay, $3,000. But you're sweating on the towels, so you can not. You're saying so. It's basically you could be river sweating downwards, so it won't be going everywhere.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Unless you're trying to do exercise like Ben Greenfield does in his, he can't. Well, he has a clear light.
Yeah, he's got a clear light, and I've spoken to them, and they talk about that. Them and Physiotherm are two of the top end companies in the world in terms of like they say their sauna. But you said there was still quite a bit of EMF coming off of that machine.
What I tested, if people are interested, they can listen to that on the podcast. Okay. I've learned not to say anything bad about any company because I get letters from their lawyers.
Sorry. Okay, I get that. Is just listening to it on the podcast. I'm not talking about All Clear, but I remember the only reason I mentioned that because you did actually do the assessment right there, right? You were right on the thing, so people listen to it.
There's no hiding. Like when you're testing something that a lot of saunas I test, I get radio stations in the sauna coming through my body, not just on the radio, and cell phone frequencies. There's still a high voltage. We want that body voltage in the sauna to be below 30 millivolts ideally. And in the sauna space, it's 0. In other models I've tested, the lowest I've seen is 500 or 600 millivolts.
So, but if you get one of those saunas, just not even just clear light, but whatever other sauna, you could, for example, do stuff to it to mitigate the EMF, or is it almost impossible?
Nothing's impossible. I would never say something's impossible, but you would have to do a lot of hacking to taking it apart to be able to shield it properly. And but there are some things you can do. You can leave it unplugged, and you can put a sauna space panel in there and heat it up that way, and then place that all in a shielded room, and then you'd have a shielded sauna to the caliber of a sauna space sauna.
So with the Illuminati sauna, and then you've got the Faraday sauna, what's the difference?
So the Faraday sauna has the shielded liner in it, whereas the Illuminati has the shielded panel and a grounding mat, but it doesn't have the shielded liner sandwiched in between the two layers of canvas.
Right, but you're still going to be getting much lower EMF.
Yeah, there's 0 magnetic field exposure on the body, 0 flicker from the lamps themselves, and everything is grounded, so there's no electric field exposure from the sauna itself. In the Faraday model, it also protects you from external EMF from coming in, wireless frequencies and electric fields.
Right.
So that's the bonus layer, and you can upgrade at any time to that if you just get the Illuminati to begin with. Or you can have the room shielded before you put the Illuminati in, and then you spend less money on the Illuminati, and
Right,
then
got it.
just a little money on shielding the entire room. So you essentially have the same thing.
So these panels you've got on your site, because you've got your store is quite interesting. These zero EMF tungsten panel and the zero EMF photon light, they're really interesting. I think it was the photon light. I've seen you use that next to your laptop, and I think it took away all the frequencies. Is that correct?
Yeah, it helps to drown out the flicker. So if you remember when we were talking about the
Yep.
flickering of the light, so like an LED light, a screen that might flicker, a TV screen or whatever, it's operating at a certain hertz pulsation. And these 250 watt bulbs don't have that pulsation. They'll actually kind of fill in the gaps of the pulses and drown it out. But it's also providing the full spectrum of near infrared wavelengths from 600 to 1200 nanometers. And so a lot of the issues we have with our artificial lighting is the blue light, the spectrum of light, but then it's also the flicker is the other thing. And that product helps take care of both of those things by drowning out the flicker and adding the spectrum that you're normally missing from being indoors under artificial light that you'd normally be getting from the sun. And the sun always has infrared in it from 600 to 1200 nanometers all day long. And so that's the norm of things. I have these some LED lights in the fixtures here in my house that don't flicker, and they have a better spectrum, but they don't have the full spectrum.
Right.
So often we'll turn on the sauna space lights in the house to help provide a more healthy spectrum of light in here that we're normally missing if we don't have like enough windows, which we have earth contact homes. So we only have windows on the south side and then one on each west and east side.
So with that, so what's the difference between the zero EMF tungsten panel and the photon light? Is it just one's more powerful than the other, or is it the tungsten panel's actually got infrared? No, they've both got infrared, right?
Yeah, it's the same concept, but the tungsten has 4 lights and the photon is just 1 light. And the photon, you can use it like at your computer desk. It's very portable.
Yeah.
They even have like a portable case you can get with it and everything.
Right. So because I know people are big into the Jove lights at the moment. Is it a similar sort of concept to the Jove light?
Yeah, it's different. The Juve light is LED based. It's a good photobiomodulation device, but it has the same problems that LED have with flicker. If the person is concerned about that, and then there's some other issues with LED based products that I've found where they do create harmonics and dirty electricity.
Right.
And
so if you had this light. If you had the Jove or the Juve light, we call it JOV, if you had that and then you put one of these over it, would that negate those, what you found to be negative issues?
Yeah, if you have a LED-based red light panel and you have a sauna space photon light, it will help to mitigate the flicker, but it won't take care of the dirty electricity. For that, you need an actual filter to filter that. And then also have to think about, is the cord shielded on my LED panel? Some companies claim they have shielded cords. I've tested them, and some of them are shielded, and some of them aren't shielded. So you can't be guaranteed. But with Sauna Space, they have everything shielded.
Cool. So, okay. So I'm just saying, like something just so like those lights that you've got there. If you want to heal, if you want to increase your health, and also if you want to block different frequencies, they're pretty much they're the ones to get.
Yeah, I mean, and for just to kind of explain it to people from this more 30,000 foot viewpoint, I always like to look at it from this more ancestral perspective. And LEDs basically have about 10 nanometers of the spectrum where they're kind of targeting, and whereas we have more of a full spectrum with the incandescent because it's going from 600 to 1200 nanometers. And so it's kind of the difference between what do we get in nature? Okay, in the sun, from the sun, we get this huge full spectrum of light with all the in-between wavelengths. And with an LED-based product, you get just a 10 nanometer wavelength. But with an incandescent bulb, you get more similar to what the sun is. And so it's the difference between like you could compare it to having a full spectrum vitamin C with all the bioflavonoids versus an ascorbic acid.
Right.
So the LED based panels are more like an ascorbic acid. They're still can be very effective, and you can see really good results. A lot of the studies are done with the ascorbic acid and and everything. But the true functional health practitioners know that, and people who are really into health, they know that all of the bioflavonoids, all of those cofactors and everything are very important, and there's synergies that you have that you haven't even been studied. And so I always go back to, can we get the thing that's most similar to nature? For me, that means this full spectrum incandescent light, because the sun is incandescent as well.
Right, 100%. And just to finish off, because I know we've taken up some of your time, with the people like, because I know you say don't need specific brands, etc. But for example, I know that people like to talk about Aries Tech as a brand, and I can't remember. There's another one. Is it Aries Shield or Aries Tech? Is Aries Shield? There's another. I can't remember the other ones, but in terms of using things to block the radiation on their phone, their laptop, maybe having something on their person, or having something in their phone, just in their car to stop the Bluetooth in their phone, in their car, for example. Any sort of, I mean, I heard you mention that your wife was making some stuff before. I looked on your site, I couldn't see them. Any sort of brands that you'd recommend people to use in terms of blocking?
There's a difference. First of all, I just want to kind of differentiate between there's like stickers and things like that.
Yeah, there's things you put on the back. Yeah.
Yeah, but then there's things that actually do shield, like physical shielding.
Right, wrapping it over them things. Yeah.
Yeah, where you can wrap it over, or there's Faraday bags. There's little Faraday bags you can get on Amazon for like $10. That would be better than investing in like these stickers or these neutralizers or harmonizers and everything, because I've tested almost everyone that's on the market. I mean, I can't say that now because there's hundreds of thousands of them, but I've tested a lot of those things that claim to neutralize the EMF and harmonize it or whatever, and it never makes a difference on the meters, and it's usually based on science that they can't measure. And so I'm not a fan of that, because I feel like in order to have the highest integrity, I need to be able to measure it and understand it. And the people that found a lot of those companies themselves, they can't explain it in a way that really makes that much sense. And so I'm open to like a lot of the energy and healing and everything like that. And I think you can use some of those things possibly to support the body to deal with the stress. But as far as like with integrity recommending something, I can't do that unless I'm able to measure it with a meter and see that it makes a reduction. And so the physical barrier products are the ones that make the most sense to me, and those are the ones that I recommend. I don't have a phone pouch that I specifically recommend. My wife did used to make them, and I have them for personal use, but we've just been too busy going around the country helping people that I have so much product development that I can do, and so I'm trying to devote more time to that. But it's going to take a little while to design something I feel like this is better than what's out there, and I always want to make something that's better than what's already out there.
Well, there's only a certain amount of things, hours a day, right? And as you said before, and so for people in the daytime, I've heard you mention like things like xanthanum that can help. And what's the other thing that you mentioned that there's something else you mentioned that can basically block up to 80% of the EMFs that you do in the daytime? I can't remember what it was. Yeah,
that's molecular hydrogen. Is another one. Yeah. So they have these little tablets. Quicksilver makes some, and there's some allergy research makes some now, and there's some other companies. Usually it's mostly professional supplement companies that you can get through your chiropractor or health practitioner.
Right, awesome.
But you can buy them on Amazon too. But a little tablet. I just had one before I got on the call here.
Yep.
But you just put it in water, it dissolves, it takes like 2 minutes, and then you have to chug it. Drink it, and it'll reduce up to 80% of the damage caused, according to a study done by the EMF perioxynitrite.
Cool. Cool. So molecular hydrogen and xanthan. Cool. Awesome. Just quickly, if you said like the big things that people can do, if we run through them, like turn off your Wi-Fi at night, making sure your phone's always on airplane mode. Especially if you try and talk to it away from your AirPods or no, try and use some earphones that keep the phone away from you, but ones that connect to your actual phone. If you can, or say molecular hydrogen, xanthium, making your bedroom like a bat cave, all electricity away from it, and if you can, getting someone like yourself to come in and do an assessment.
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is if you're really serious about this, do all those things you mentioned first. But then if you're really serious and you're like, okay, I don't want to worry about this anymore, it is an overwhelming topic because there's so much, we have so much exposure everywhere, and really, if you don't want to worry about it anymore, get somebody to come in and, if you need a referral, I do have a referral source in the UK. His name is Leonard Stafford. I think he lives near London, but he does travel around Europe a little bit, and he's the best person that I know of over there that will do a good job with integrity on his assessments, and he'll give you, and he has a good price for stuff. Yeah.
Perfect. I was just going to say, is he part of Shielded Healing?
No, he's not. He hasn't been trained by me, but he's the only other person outside of my team that I feel good about recommending.
Cool. Yeah. That's awesome. Go back to say, did you have anyone you could talk to in the UK? Because all of our listeners anyway are in the US. We've got a lot of the S's in the US and in Canada. I know you're all going all around, which is great. And so the best place for people to find you, Brian, is shieldedhealing.com. Yeah.
Yep, that's our website, and we have a store there and information on where we're touring currently. And then also some products that you can purchase. We have the saunas on there, the sauna products, and then also the dirty electricity filtration products, which are made for 50 hertz and 60 hertz, and 240 volt and 120 volt. So in the UK, we can do some filtration as well, and send those out. We just have to you just have to email us at info@shieldedhealing.com, and we can give you more information on that, and then we'll also set up a discount code for your listeners that you can have them use to get some percentage off.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for today, mate. It's been really, mate. It's been a great conversation, and I know that people will be taking a lot away from it. So thanks very much, mate.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Perfect. So, guys and girls, that was Brian Hoyer of shieldedhealing.com. www.shieldedhealing.com. You can go to that and find out more about Brian and his services. And as I said before, if you contact him and you want to get something, you can just contact him and say you're coming through the Revive link, or you come through the Revive podcast, you get 5% off. Or by the time that it comes out, you should actually be able to put a code in Revive5 and you get 5% off. And so, yeah, I'm guessing you've probably got more questions after that episode. We will be getting Brian back on, but a fascinating interview and finding out all about geopathical stress, electromagnetic frequencies, radiation, and what you can do, and take that on board. One of the things you can do very, very simply, keeping your phone on airplane mode, turn your Wi-Fi off at night, making sure your phone's not on your person all the time, stay away from things like AirPods, but getting your laptop, if you can, or your internet wired into the actual computer rather than being sent around. That's fantastic as well. And we'll be looking into these EMF blocking clothes. After a conversation, we had a little chat with Brian. I know there's Faraday's that I'm going to be talking to about underwear. There's some other companies out there that are doing EMF and radiation blocking clothes, which would be fantastic if you go on long haul flights. It's because we seem to be bombarded by radiation. But if you're looking for an assessment, a house assessment, then head over to www.shieldedhealing.com. Or if you're looking to get your house assessed and you're in the UK or Europe, then send me a message at ryan@reviveyourself.co, and I can give you the link that Brian sent me. Also, if you are dealing with a health issue and you haven't been able to get any results or get to the root of it and you've still been having this problem for a while, then please do send me an email at ryan@reviveyourself.co and we can have a chat about how we can help you. Also, if you're not following us on Instagram, then please do. We are revive_yourself. In fact, we might be revive__. No, I think we're just revive. Let me just check quickly for you. While we're here, I may as well check so we don't get it wrong. Revive_yourself. We are on Instagram, on Facebook. You can find us at Revive Natural Health. If you just type in Revive in the space bar, you'll see us. You'll see the logo for my podcast, so you'll be easy to follow. And also you can follow me personally if you want. Just type in Ryan Martin and my profile will come up. It'll be the picture of my book, The Chronic Fatigue Solution, which if you haven't got and you're looking to increase your health, or you know someone that is or has chronic exhaustion or any other chronic illness, then head on over to www.thechronicfatiguesolution.com. So used to saying that, www.thechronicfatiguesolution.com. And the book's only £7. It's just asking you to pay postage and packaging. I don't even get anything from it. I just want you to get this information. And you also got the option there to go for the audiobook version if you prefer to listen rather than you prefer to read, and you've got the option to upgrade to our 21-day health reset if you're looking to give yourself a boost. www.thechronicfatiguesolution.com, where you'll learn all about the 3 secrets to healing any chronic illness, as well as lots of other protocols and principles and stories and 52 other things you can do straight away to increase your health and vitality. Otherwise, guys and girls, that's it for this week. I'll see you very soon. And if you're not following us on any of those other social media platforms, then go ahead, because I do put lots of content out on Facebook and Instagram, and actually YouTube as well. You can find us on YouTube. I was going to say, actually, if you haven't found us on YouTube, I put all the interviews, they will be going up on YouTube as well, and I put lots of other videos that we do on YouTube. So have a look on YouTube for us, Revive Yourself. Otherwise, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you're struggling with gut issues, such as gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, and want to finally be able to eat the foods you love without the crippling after effects, then don't forget to head over to reviveyourself.co and pick up your free copy of The Healing Health Paradigm today.